The Whisper Behind the Wall. Chapter 1, The Sound No One Else Could Hear. At exactly 2:13 every morning, Ethan Carter woke to the same sound. Tap. 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 Not loud. Not violent. Just 3 slow knocks coming from the wall beside his bed. The first night, he blamed the old apartment. The second night, he blamed the pipes. By the 7th night, he knew something was wrong. The strange part wasn't the knocking. It was that no one else could hear it. His neighbor laughed when Ethan asked about it. "The walls here are solid," she said. "I've never heard anything." The building manager smiled politely. "You're probably just stressed." But Ethan wasn't imagining it. Every night. 2:13 a.m. 3 knocks. Always the same. One evening, unable to ignore it any longer, Ethan placed his ear against the wall. Silence. Then a whisper. So close. He jumped back in fear. The room was empty. His phone had no signal. The lights flickered once. Then everything became quiet again. The next morning, Ethan searched the history of the apartment building. What he found made his hands shake. 22 years earlier, a young investigative journalist had disappeared from apartment 307. The case was never solved. No body. No suspect. No answers. Ethan looked up from the newspaper. Apartment 307 was his apartment. That night. 2:13 a.m. Tap. 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 This time, he didn't move away. He stared directly at the wall. Slowly. Very slowly. A thin crack appeared across the old paint. Something on the other side had started knocking back. Frightened man's voice whispered. "If you're listening to this, I'm probably already gone. They found me before I could expose them. Don't trust anyone, especially the people who seem the kindest." The recording ended. Silence returned. Suddenly, a loud footstep echoed somewhere behind him. Ethan spun around. The passage was empty. His flashlight shook in his hand. He called out. "Who's there?" No answer. Only silence. Trying to stay calm, he opened the leather journal. Most of the pages were damaged by moisture. But one sentence was still readable. "The wall doesn't hide the secret, it hides the truth." Before Ethan could read another page, his phone vibrated. Unknown number. Message: "You should have left the wall alone." His blood ran cold. He rushed toward the apartment door. It wouldn't open. Someone had locked it from the outside. Then 3 slow knocks echoed once again. Tap. 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 But this time, the sound wasn't coming from inside the wall. It was coming from the apartment's front door. Someone had finally arrived. To be continued. The man at the door. The knocking stopped. For a few seconds, Ethan couldn't breathe. His apartment was silent again. He stared at the front door, waiting for another sound. Nothing. Slowly, he walked toward it. "Who's there?" he called. No answer. His hand trembled as he unlocked the door. The hallway outside was completely empty. No footsteps. No voices. No sign that anyone had been there. Then he looked down. A small black envelope rested on the floor. There was no stamp. No address. Only 3 words were written across the front in white ink. Keep digging, Ethan. His heart pounded. He took the envelope inside and carefully opened it. There was only one item inside. An old photograph. It showed 5 people standing in front of the apartment building nearly 25 years earlier. One face caught Ethan's attention immediately. It was the journalist who had disappeared. Another face looked strangely familiar. After several seconds, Ethan realized why. The second man was the building's current manager. Only much younger. That didn't make sense. Yesterday the manager had claimed he had worked there for only 5 years. So why was he standing in a photograph taken decades ago? Someone had lied. That afternoon, Ethan searched public records at the city library. Hours passed. Finally, he found a newspaper article hidden inside the archives. Local reporter vanishes during corruption investigation. The article mentioned that the reporter believed a powerful group was operating inside the city. Before he disappeared, he had written only one sentence in his notebook. The truth is buried behind the walls. The same sentence. The same words Ethan had seen in the hidden room. This wasn't a coincidence. Someone wanted him to follow the trail. As Ethan left the library, he noticed a black sedan parked across the street. Its engine was running. The windows were completely dark. When he started walking, the car moved. When he stopped, the car stopped too. Someone was following him. He quickly turned into a crowded market. For a moment, he thought he had escaped. Then he heard a voice behind him. Don't look back. It was a low whisper. So they finally chose you. Ethan slowly turned around. An elderly man wearing a gray coat stood behind him. His face looked exhausted. I knew the journalist, the old man said quietly. And if you want to stay alive. He glanced nervously over his shoulder. Never go back to apartment 307. Before Ethan could ask another question, the old man pushed a folded map into his hand. Midnight, he whispered. Old Harbor Warehouse. Then he disappeared into the crowd. Ethan unfolded the map. A red circle marked one location. At the bottom, someone had written a warning. Some secrets should never be found. Far across the street, the black sedan was still waiting. And this time, the driver slowly stepped out. To be continued. The warehouse at midnight. Rain poured over the city as midnight approached. Ethan stood outside the abandoned harbor warehouse, clutching the folded map in his hand. The old building looked forgotten. Broken windows stared into the darkness like empty eyes. Rusted chains swung gently in the cold wind. Every instinct told him to leave. But if he walked away now, he would never learn the truth. He pushed the heavy metal door open. It groaned loudly. Inside, the warehouse was silent. Rows of dusty crates stretched into the darkness. His flashlight revealed footprints in the thick layer of dust. Fresh footprints. Someone had entered only minutes earlier. Ethan followed them deeper inside. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed behind him. The entrance door slammed shut. His flashlight flickered. The warehouse fell into complete silence. Then a voice echoed through the darkness. You should have stopped searching. Ethan spun around. Who's there? He shouted. No answer. Only footsteps. Slow. Steady. Coming closer. He hid behind a stack of wooden crates. A shadow walked past. The figure wore a long black coat and leather gloves. Its face remained hidden beneath a hood. The stranger carried an old flashlight in one hand. In the other, a pistol. Ethan held his breath. The mysterious figure searched the room carefully, as if expecting him to make a mistake. Then the stranger stopped. "You found the hidden room," the voice said quietly. "But you still don't know what was taken from it." The figure walked away. A few seconds later, another sound echoed through the warehouse. A weak voice. "Help!" Ethan rushed toward it. Behind a pile of broken boxes, he found a small steel door leading underground. It was locked. He remembered the old brass key from the hidden room. With shaking hands, he pulled it from his pocket. The key fit perfectly. The lock clicked open. He slowly pushed the door. A narrow staircase disappeared into darkness. The air below was cold. Too cold. At the bottom of the stairs stood a single wooden table. On it rested an old laptop, covered in dust. Its screen suddenly turned on by itself. One sentence appeared in bright white letters. "Welcome, Ethan. We've been waiting for you." Before he could react, the lights inside the underground room went out. Complete darkness. Then, someone whispered directly behind his ear. "You came alone." Ethan froze. He slowly turned around. But there was no one there. Only darkness. And the sound of a heartbeat that wasn't his. To be continued. The Forgotten Files. Ethan didn't move. The whisper still echoed in his ears. "You came alone." He spun around, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. Nothing. The underground room was empty. But the air felt different. As if someone had been standing only inches behind him. His attention returned to the old laptop. The screen flickered. A loading symbol appeared. Then, dozens of folders filled the display. Every folder carried a person's name. Some names were crossed out in red. Others were marked with a single word, "missing." Ethan's breathing became heavier. He opened one folder. Inside were photographs. Surveillance reports. Phone records. And newspaper articles dating back nearly 30 years. These weren't random victims. Someone had been secretly watching people for decades. Then he noticed something that made his blood run cold. A brand new folder had appeared at the top of the screen. Ethan Carter. His own name. Hands shaking, he clicked it open. Inside were photos taken only hours earlier. One showed him entering the library. Another captured him opening the hidden room. A third showed him sleeping in apartment 307. Someone had been inside his apartment while he slept. Then a new message appeared across the screen. "You're not investigating us, we're investigating you." Suddenly, the laptop shut itself off. The room fell silent. A metallic click echoed behind him. The steel door slammed shut. Ethan ran toward it. Locked. No handle on the inside. He was trapped. Then, a projector mounted on the ceiling came to life. A grainy video filled the wall. It showed the missing journalist sitting in the very same room, speaking directly to the camera. "If you're watching this, they failed to stop the truth." The journalist looked terrified. "They're called the Whisper Circle. They don't steal money. They don't rob banks. They erase people. They choose someone, watch them for months, then make them disappear without leaving a single trace." A loud bang interrupted the recording. The journalist looked toward the door. "They're here." The video ended. Silence. Then Ethan heard footsteps above him. Not one person. Several. Slow. Heavy. Moving across the warehouse floor. Someone unlocked the steel door. The handle slowly turned. The door creaked open. A deep voice echoed down the staircase. "We know you're in there, Ethan. We've been waiting for this moment." Ethan stepped backward into the darkness. With nowhere left to run. To be continued. The chase begins. The warehouse door burst open. 3 figures dressed in black tactical clothing rushed down the stairs. Ethan didn't wait. He grabbed the old laptop from the table and sprinted through a narrow passage at the back of the underground room. Behind him came the sound of shouting. "Don't let him escape." The tunnel was dark and uneven. Water dripped from the ceiling. Every step echoed like thunder. Ethan's lungs burned as he ran deeper into the darkness. Then he saw a faint light ahead. An exit. He pushed open a rusted metal hatch and climbed into an abandoned subway station beneath the city. The station had been closed for decades. Old trains sat motionless on broken tracks, dust covered everything. His phone suddenly vibrated. Unknown number. Platform 4. Trust no one. He looked up. 4 platforms stretched into the darkness. Which one? Before he could decide, flashlights appeared at the end of the tunnel. The men had found him. Ethan sprinted toward platform 4. As he reached the edge, an old maintenance train slowly rolled out of the darkness. Its doors opened. Inside sat an elderly woman wearing a gray coat. "I've been expecting you," she said calmly. Ethan hesitated. "Who are you?" "My name is Eleanor Brooks. I worked with the journalist who disappeared 22 years ago." She looked at the laptop in Ethan's hands. "They'll kill you if they get that." "Who are they?" Ethan asked. "The Whisper Circle. The people who control the truth." Before she could explain further, a gunshot echoed through the station. The train window shattered. "Get down!" Eleanor shouted. The lights went out. The train began moving on its own. In complete darkness, Ethan heard someone climb onto the roof of the train. Heavy footsteps echoed above them. One of the hunters had found them. To be continued. The traitor. The train raced through the abandoned tunnels above them. Heavy footsteps moved from one end of the roof to the other. Eleanor looked at Ethan. "They're not after you," she whispered. "They're after the laptop." Ethan tightened his grip. "What is on it?" "The names of everyone who ever worked for the Whisper Circle." Suddenly. Bang. The roof above them shook violently. Someone was trying to break in. Ethan and Eleanor rushed into the next train car. It was filled with old maintenance equipment. Rusty tools. Broken lights. Empty crates. The emergency lights flickered red. Another loud crash echoed through the tunnel. The hunter had entered the train. Slow footsteps approached. Closer. Closer. Then stopped. Complete silence. Ethan held his breath. A shadow appeared beneath the door. The handle slowly turned. Just before the door opened, the train screeched to a stop. The lights came back on. The shadow disappeared. When Ethan opened the door, the hunter was gone. Only a small black card lay on the floor. It carried the Whisper Circle symbol. On the back, one sentence was written. "Trust no one. Dash dash." An hour later, Eleanor led Ethan to an old safe house hidden behind an abandoned bookstore. Inside were maps, newspaper clippings, and hundreds of photographs connected by red strings. One wall was covered with missing person posters. Every victim had investigated the same organization. The Whisper Circle. While Eleanor searched through a filing cabinet, Ethan opened the laptop. This time, it asked for a password. Before he could guess, the laptop unlocked by itself. A hidden video began playing. The missing journalist appeared on screen. If you're watching this, it means I failed. He looked directly into the camera. The Whisper Circle has members everywhere. In the police. In the courts. In the government. They don't destroy evidence. They become the evidence. Then the journalist paused. There is only one person I ever trusted. He slowly held up a photograph. Ethan froze. It was Eleanor. The woman standing beside him. He looked at her in shock. You knew him? Eleanor lowered her head. Yes. But that's not the whole truth. Before she could continue, the front door exploded inward. Masked agents flooded the room. Federal security. Nobody move. Ethan raised his hands. Then he saw something that made his blood run cold. Eleanor smiled. She slowly stepped toward the agents. One of them removed his mask and shook her hand. Eleanor turned toward Ethan. I'm sorry. You were never meant to find the truth. The safe house had never been a refuge. It had been a trap. To be continued. The final key. The room fell silent. Ethan stared at Eleanor in disbelief. You betrayed me. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked at the masked agents surrounding the room. Lower your weapons, she said calmly. The agents obeyed. Ethan frowned. None of it made sense. If you're one of them, he asked, why did you save me? Eleanor sighed. Because I needed you alive long enough to find the laptop. She stepped closer. For 22 years, no one could unlock it. But it recognized you. Ethan's heart pounded. What do you mean? Eleanor reached into her coat and pulled out an old photograph. It showed a smiling couple holding a baby. The baby was Ethan. He stared at the picture. My parents. Eleanor nodded. Your father wasn't an ordinary journalist. He founded the Whisper Circle. The words hit Ethan like a punch. No. That's impossible. He discovered that powerful people were using the organization to erase innocent lives. When he tried to destroy it, they turned against him. They murdered everyone who stood beside him. And they hid you. Ethan's hands trembled. My whole life was a lie. Before Eleanor could speak again, the laptop emitted a loud beep. A countdown appeared on the screen. 10 o'clock 9 minutes and 59 seconds. The file labeled Final Evidence had begun decrypting. One of the agents stepped forward. We don't have much time. If those files reach the internet, the circle is finished. Another agent raised his weapon. Take the laptop. Before anyone could move, the lights went out. A gunshot echoed through the building. Then another. Screams filled the darkness. Someone else had entered the safe house. A voice echoed from the shadows. You've all forgotten the first rule. When secrets become dangerous, everyone dies. The emergency lights flashed red. Bodies lay motionless across the floor. The laptop was gone. And the countdown continued. 08:47. To be continued. The last truth. The countdown continued. 08:46. 08:45. 08:44. The safe house was in ruins. Smoke drifted through the shattered windows. Broken glass covered the floor. Ethan slowly stood up, coughing. The laptop was gone. So was the mysterious attacker. Only Eleanor remained, injured but alive. She grabbed Ethan's arm. "Listen to me, there's still one chance." "Who took the laptop?" Ethan asked. Eleanor looked toward the broken doorway. "The founder." Ethan frowned. "I thought my father was the founder." "He was. But someone else stole everything he built." Dash dash. They escaped through a hidden passage beneath the bookstore. The tunnel led to an abandoned courthouse on the edge of the city. According to Eleanor, this was where the Whisper Circle had held its secret meetings decades earlier. Inside the courtroom, everything was covered in dust. Old wooden benches. Broken lights. A judge's chair standing alone beneath a cracked ceiling. On the wall hung a faded city map. As Ethan examined it, he noticed several red pins. Every pin matched the location of a missing person's last known address. One final pin remained untouched. Apartment 307. The place where everything had begun. Suddenly, the courtroom speakers crackled to life. A calm, deep voice echoed through the empty hall. "Welcome home, Ethan." The lights switched on one by one. A man stepped out of the shadows. Gray hair. Black suit. Cold blue eyes. He smiled. "You've been searching for me." Ethan clenched his fists. "Who are you?" "My name no longer matters. But once, I was your father's closest friend." Eleanor whispered, "No." The man nodded. "I betrayed him. I created the Whisper Circle you know today." He placed the missing laptop on the judge's desk. "The evidence inside this machine can destroy everything I built. So here's my offer." He pushed the laptop toward Ethan. "Take the truth. Or save Eleanor." At that moment, Ethan noticed something horrifying. Eleanor was tied to a chair. A timer beneath her counted down from 2 o'clock. The laptop held the proof the world needed. But there wasn't enough time to save both. The stranger smiled. "Every truth has a price." Ethan looked from the laptop to Eleanor, knowing that whichever choice he made, someone would be lost forever. To be continued. The final whisper. 01:59. The timer beneath Eleanor's chair began counting down. The room was silent except for the ticking clock. Ethan looked at the laptop. Then at Eleanor. Then back at the man who had orchestrated everything. "You can't save both," the man said with a smile. "Choose." Ethan took a deep breath. Then he did something no one expected. Instead of running to the laptop or Eleanor, he reached for the building's main power switch and pulled it down. The courthouse was plunged into darkness. The timer stopped. The lights went out. Gunshots echoed through the hall. People shouted in confusion. Using the darkness as cover, Ethan rushed toward Eleanor. He cut the ropes around her wrists with a broken piece of glass. "Can you run?" he whispered. She nodded. They sprinted through the courtroom as flashlights searched the darkness behind them. At the far end of the building was a narrow emergency exit. Just before they reached it, the mysterious leader blocked their path. He was holding the laptop. "You've already lost," he said. Ethan looked at him calmly. "No. You have." The man frowned. "What are you talking about?" Ethan smiled for the first time in days. The laptop you stole is real. But it isn't the only copy. The leader's face changed. What? When I found a hidden room, I copied every file onto a secure cloud server. The upload finished while everyone was chasing me. At that exact moment, phones across the courtroom began vibrating. News alerts flashed on every screen. Breaking news. Thousands of classified files exposing the Whisper Circle have just been released online. Police sirens echoed outside. More vehicles surrounded the courthouse. The leader realized the truth. His empire had collapsed. He slowly lowered the laptop. There was never a way to win, Ethan said. Within minutes, detectives stormed the building. The remaining members of the Whisper Circle were arrested. The hidden records solved dozens of missing person cases that had remained mysteries for over 20 years. Months later, apartment 307 stood empty once again. The walls had been repaired. The hidden room was sealed forever. Ethan visited one last time. He placed the old brass key on the windowsill. I hope they finally know the truth, he whispered. As he turned to leave, the room fell silent. Then, tap, tap, tap. 3 slow knocks echoed from somewhere inside the wall. Ethan stopped. He looked back. The apartment was empty. A faint whisper drifted through the silence. Some secrets never die. Ethan smiled sadly, closed the door behind him, and walked away. Whether the sound had been real, or only a memory, no one would ever know. The end.